Hello and welcome to part 2 of interview mode. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your Ecamm Live production so you can bring on a live guest and enable them to share their screen. So here we are in Ecamm Live. First of all, you need to have interview mode enabled. Now by default, it is disabled and is only available in the paid for Pro plan or the trial version of Ecamm Live. So just to make you aware that you may not see interview mode in yours if you have the standard plan. Let's go to Window and go down to Interview. By default, interview mode is disabled. To enable it, you just click on this toggle here and you'll see a couple of things. First of all, it will tell you how many hours remaining you have of interview time. You get a set amount of hours when you enable interview mode as part of your plan, and you can add more hours when this runs out, and that's something you can talk to Ecamm about if you need more hours specifically after yours has expired. You also see here the main camera that the guest will see when they first join the broadcast. At the moment it's set to my only camera, which I'm just using this cam link, which is what you're seeing me on now. Down at the bottom though is the specific link that you are going to copy and send to your guests, which they will use in their Chrome browser to access the interview live mode. Mine at the moment is not being seen because I'm in live demo mode, and from a security perspective, my URL is hidden, but you will see a unique link associated to your production, and that's the one that you will send your guests. Now, each of these links are configurable by this little gear menu here. So let's click on this and show you exactly what you can do. Once you get this dialog box open, you have a couple of options. You can change the title of your show. This is for your own production and for your own branding. Then you have options to drop in specific graphics that are obviously relevant to your branding and your production. You have ones for light mode, dark mode, and so on. And you have a main graph image or a graphic image that the guest will see when they access your specific URL. You can also change the guest domain link, the one that they will see when they receive the URL. There's a number that you can choose from here. I just keep mine as default as guest.ecammlive.com. Now there are a couple of options down here as well that I just want to draw your attention to. You can default the entire experience to dark mode. You can allow private chat. That means the host and the guests can share a back channel chat, so you can text each other as you need to, especially if you have multiple guests, it's quite useful. You also have the option here for the guests to see viewer comments. So on your live show, you will have viewer comments coming in. They will see those in their browser window as well, and also the number of viewers that are currently watching your production. The main thing that I want to draw your attention to though is very important, is the turn off audio processing for guests. When this is checked, this means there will be no echo cancellation or any audio processing done by Ecamm Live. So it's really important, if you do enable this, that the guests are wearing headphones, they have a decent microphone, and your voice isn't coming through the speakers on the machine, because you don't want to have any slapback or any sort of latency that you will hear your own voice in the background. By default, and as a matter of course, I always make sure that this is not checked. So let Ecamm do its thing and make sure that you get the best experience. But if you have headphones and a decent microphone, then by all means enable this and do some audio testing before you go live. You also have the option here to reset your link. So if you do that, this will bring a brand new link for you. So if for whatever reason the link is expired or didn't work, then you can click reset link and that will produce a brand new link that you can send to your guests. One other thing that you can do from this interview window that pops up is that you can have multiple URLs, multiple guest links for various shows. If you are the host of many shows, that you can have specific links associated with those shows. And this is from the drop-down menu here. You can see I've got creative amplifiers, Ecamm pop-up test, and so on. If you create new interview settings, you get the option to create yourself a brand new interview setting configuration, give it a new title, give it a new link, and so on. So this is a great way of toggling between different shows if you are hosting multiple ones, especially when you're bringing guests in to Ecamm Live. You can have the guests go straight to a green room, which means they're not part of your main production, and that's the setting here. Also, you have the option as when the guests join, what do they see? Do they see the entire broadcast, i.e. everything that you have in Ecamm they will see, or you can have it so they only see the host only, and that's the preference setting here. Once you've sent your guests the Ecamm interview link, they'll just click on that and they will be presented with a couple of options. They'll obviously need to put their name in there, and then they have the option to select which particular camera they want to use. In this case, Mark's using his cam link. And then there's a selection of different microphones that you can use also. We're going to pick the wavelength stream for Mark in this particular case. Then he will click on join and he will join the production. All right, let's get our guest on and see what it looks like. So we have Mark joining here. As you can see, I'm just going to answer the call by hitting the green button. So Mark has joined us into the production. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. We're just going to quickly go through two ways of assigning you into the Ecamm production. The first and simple way is to have Mark come in as a side-by-side view next to me. So I can assign Mark to the left-hand side here. And as you can see, Mark is directly in the production now. All I had to do was assign him. You can also assign to the right, make the guest solo. So Mark would be fully in the production without having to create any overlays or anything like that. Now, the second way to do this is simply create a host and guest scene with a camera overlay. And Mark can now be assigned to a specific camera source. In here, I'll just click on the camera source here, click on this, add guest Mark, and Mark is now in as a guest. So you can see it's really easy to add guests to your Ecamm production, either the side-by-side view or create a specific overlay, which is one I prefer to do, and then add the guest into that camera source. And therefore you have more flexibility in how you add them to the production. So Mark is currently showing you his screen, and this is what the guests would see when they come into Ecamm on interview mode. We'll go over to the scene that I've just created where he is a guest. But as you can see, there's a little bit of headroom, and within Ecamm, you can use the camera effects to position a guest as you did when you're positioning and moving around your own camera. So we'll select Mark as the guest here, and we'll pan and zoom, and we'll just zoom Mark in a little bit like that. And we'll just move him around there. And I can do the same to me as well. If you want yourself to be a little bit more centered in there, I'll just move myself around as well, so we're a little bit more equal. Just move that to camera A. Like that. And with all the camera effects, you can also change the color temperature, the brightness. So if Mark is a little bit dark, we can change the color settings on there and the temperature. But Mark's looking fine. So we're now both pretty much centered. We've cropped out a little bit of the headspace that Mark had in the guest view. And now we're side by side, looking great. You have the ability for each of your guests to actually change the volume of them to make sure that they are set correctly. There's also a global volume control for interview mode here, but I'll just ask Mark to tell us a little bit about his podcast. He uses Ecamm exclusively to do the recordings. So Mark, if you could tell us about that, and I'll show the audience how we change your volume control individually as well.
Great. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, my podcast is called Education on Fire, and basically I'm sharing creative and inspiring education from around the world. It was a bit of a passion project. It started by my going music educator, seeing lots of teachers in the staff room essentially banging their head against a brick wall saying, I got into this profession to be able to make a big difference to children, and I'm spending most of my time doing paperwork and film filling. And I was lucky enough to be able to see some great education in lots of different settings. So the podcast started with the ability for me to be able to share lots of great practice that was happening in different schools, different areas. And I just love having those conversations, and it just grew and grew from there. And it started back in 2016. And here we are still going strong in 2024.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mark, for that. And as you can see, we can adjust the individual guest. We can also mute a guest individually, but from the interview mode, it's a global setting. So if you have multiple guests on there, if I mute now, and obviously you wouldn't be able to hear Mark, but if there was many other guests on the show as well, that would be the global setting to mute everybody. So that's the way that you can control the audio individually and globally in Ecamm for your interview guests. So here we are in side-by-side guest mode. So we obviously got Mark as the guest coming in, but using the power of Ecamm, the guests can also share anything they want on their desktop. So I've just asked Mark to share his desktop for me so we can take a look at how this works. And
What?
that looks like Windows 95. Now, obviously with the power of Ecamm, you can share anything that you want. And Mark is clearly on a Windows 95 machine today. So let's see what Mark wants to share for us. So I've already created a guest and share scene. The guest's screen will come up here as the second camera, and it's really easy. You just say Mark's screen. And Mark is actually sharing something for us right now. So Mark is...
What happens?
He's run up Netscape
What?
Navigator, and that is Ecamm's first site. Ecamm's actually gone back in time. They're now selling Palm Pilot software. That's amazing. I mean, we did hear from them that that's how they started, but we've clearly gone back in time, and Mark is now sharing what used to be the Ecamm's website. Well, yeah, that's a bit weird. And Mark, are we planning to buy anything from that side? I think we can we still buy some Palm Pilot stuff from them?
Well, I think, when we were at Creator Camp, I didn't see a storeroom anywhere with some sort of back catalogue Palm Pilots or any sort of old devices knocking around. But you never know. Maybe we should ask Kenny, Glenn.
I think so. I'm definitely going to buy some of that stuff now. But anyway, you can clearly see with the power of Ecamm, you can share anything that you want, even a Windows 95. And it's desktop, and it's really easy to share this in Ecamm. And we'll just show you from the guest perspective now how you can actually share any of your screens, and you've got to make sure that you have the right permissions for Chrome to do that, because it's in a Chrome browser and Chrome is going to share a portion or part of your screen. In fact, it can also share the entire screen as well. So we'll take a quick look at what that looks like from the guest perspective. But Mark, thank you so much for being a guest on today's show and showing people how you can actually share your screen, even though it is Windows 95. There are a number of amazing resources available to get you started with Ecamm Live, enabling you to stream like a boss. Now, I've listed a number of these key resources here to help you with your Ecamm journey, and I would encourage you to join the Discord or Facebook groups, as there are a bunch of knowledgeable people waiting to help you and support you on these platforms. So take it easy, happy streaming, and welcome to the Ecamm Fam.